Hello, and welcome to I Want to Believe You. We are your hosts, Doug and Becky.
We're a couple of skeptics here to investigate real stories from real people with real experiences.
Thank you for joining us for episode 2. Let's dive right in with a photo from Marina.
Your thoughts?
Well, right off rip, obviously you see the purple, pinkish smudge. That's what it looks like to me. But from the description of the photo, they say it's an aura. An aura. I always thought that an aura was something that went around you. I didn't realize it was like an entity of its own.
Well, no, apparently when you look at someone and you stare above their head, they have a colour aura. And each colour aura is a different meaning.
Okay.
And apparently pink is you have unconditional love and you expect nothing in return. So...
Well, since you have described it that way, it kind of does make sense, being that this image does look like a young person in what is seemingly their grandmother, probably. So it does kind of make sense, with that definition.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it still looks like a smudge to me.
Do you think this is taken on like a smartphone or a disposable camera?
I don't know. The resolution doesn't look terrible to me.
I think it's the smartphone, isn't it? It's weird though. Like, what would cause that? You know what I mean?
If that, yeah, you know what? Now that you mention it, yeah, smartphone, because you have your disposable cameras, the old school way. Those, it makes sense. Polaroids, those make sense to have natural errors like that. Yeah, you're right. If this is a digital, or if this is a smartphone, like a new age camera, then yeah, that would make it way more interesting. That's something that we should look into.
Yeah. I've never really seen like a, what would you call it, like a smudge on a smartphone?
No.
On the camera?
I've never seen anything like that anyway. Usually these kind of things occur with cameras that use film, because like interference, or sometimes other images get burned into it. Maybe exposure to light, stuff like that. They have room for error with film.
But it is very like prominent pink though.
It is, and it doesn't really look like it. It's strange. It's definitely in the foreground, but it's transparent. Like it doesn't look like something dangled in front of the camera, really. Unless it's like a thread or something real close up.
I was just gonna say like a thread or something,
Yeah.
but
That's a good one.
But then if you're holding a phone, taking a picture from this far away, like what thread is this? It like came off, drifted in the wind, and went in front of the camera.
That's a good question. Maybe the person that was wearing it could have been wearing long sleeves. They went to take the photo. Another thing is that you usually take photos like this. Sometimes like this though. So
that's what I was saying. If it was like a disposable camera, your finger might go in front of it, but it wouldn't be that pink and that kind of shape,
Mm-hmm. And even if it was a smartphone though, like taking photos like this, but it looks like they took it straight up.
Yeah.
But that could be edited. If it was originally taken like this, it's very possible that maybe like they had a sleeve that was up high, where the thread could have dangled off.
That's all I can put it down to, is a thread or something.
It's all I could see. Other than that, that's a legit anomaly that I can't explain. If it's not a thread, I don't know how else to explain that.
And we can confirm this is from a very well-known source, and it's definitely not been photoshopped. So
that's interesting. Especially learning today. I just learned what an aura was. Like I said, prior to this moment today, I thought an aura was like something that surrounded your whole body. I didn't realize it was just like kind of like an orb or something that appeared in a photo.
I think there's different, like, I'm not too savvy on it myself, but I think there are different like definitions of how an aura can be. But from what I'm aware of, it's above your head. And like I said, someone commented on this on our Facebook page, and they said the same thing about the aura and what the pink meaning was. And I had to Google it because I know about auras, but I don't know about the colours and everything.
So, in my opinion, it's probably not enough to convince me that it's anything supernatural, especially not supernatural, but even paranormal. I do trust the source that we got this from, but it just seems more likely that it was a thread that popped in front of the lens.
I agree.
I mean, but it is a nice photo, and thank you, Marina, for sending it in.
Yes, thank you.
All right, so I guess we'll move on to some stories now.
Ooh.
We do have some interesting ones today. We did get a lot of submissions. Let's take a look. So we have one here from Lindsay. This was sent in. Let's go ahead and dive right into it. She says, "We rented the basement of a friend's house and shared the kitchen, which was upstairs, in the part of the house. Our bedside lamp started turning on randomly. It's a touch lamp. So my husband and I thought maybe one of us bumped into it. I've had touch lamps. I know personally from personal experience that wiring in them could be messed up, and when that happens, they do bizarre things. You can't really. It's really hard to chalk that kind of stuff up to paranormal or supernatural. Just being that I've seen it before and I've thrown lamps out because of the wiring issues. It's really hard to bump it up to that. In this case, I don't know. I wasn't there to see the lamp. I didn't do my own investigation of the lamp. But if you were to ask me, that was probably
lamp
it.
investigator.
Ooh, I'm a lamp investigator. Yeah.
My nan used to have a touch lamp as well, and it was very temperamental. You could touch it, and it would start freaking out and flickering loads. And we actually saw a video the other day about a lamp that was flickering. Do you remember? We saw that, and it was someone thought it was their granddad or someone.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, and I think I said the same exact thing.
Yeah.
Yep. So I mean that.
So it happens a lot.
Don't get me wrong. It's spooky when it does occur, though. I mean, it's the first thing you think immediately is what the hell's going on? It's not.
But touch lamps in particular.
Yeah, those are.
It's quite common.
It's very common.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll continue. She says, "Well, it kept happening. After the second or third time, we started thinking maybe it was something else, faulty wiring or something. There we go. So."
They were on our side. Okay.
they were skeptical of it as well. Well, which makes sense. I mean, you have to be. One night we came home and it was on, and I turned it off. I turned around to change my clothes and then turned back, and it was on again.
Well, it was nice that they turned it off for them to get changed. Bit of privacy.
Yeah, very nice of them. So they go on to say, I hadn't even left the room. Freaked both of us out. Then we started hearing things. I was home alone one night. I heard what sounded like a bowling ball, which dropped and rolled across the floor directly above me, which was our roommate's bathroom. Then I heard drawers opening and closing, so I thought maybe she was home. I go upstairs, pitch black. No one home? It freaked me out. I finally tell her what has been happening. She thinks it might have just been the dogs outside making noise. Then she hears what sounds like the dryer door opening and slamming several times, which is in our bathroom, directly below her bathroom. So that, I've heard doors shutting and opening. Seems like by themselves. It's easy to debunk that stuff with open windows, stuff like that. I guess it's different when it comes to a dryer, though, or a washer, because those actually latch shut. But if it was left open...
But she was saying she was hearing noises from upstairs, and she was saying the dryer was downstairs. Is that right?
Yeah, that's what she said.
Okay.
So, that is interesting. That would spook me out personally. I'm not going to lie about that.
But then, again, I've been in, this exact room that we're in right now, and the door is shut by itself. And I'm just I put it down to, like you say, the window being open, somewhere else in the house, creating the pressure to shut the door or something.
Well, this is kind of weird what she goes on to say, though. She did say then she hears... Okay. So
Who's she? The housemate?
No, I guess the housemaid. So she did say then she hears
Okay.
what sounds like the dryer door opening and slamming several times, which is in our bathroom directly below her bathroom. We weren't home, so it wasn't us. Which, again, that doesn't take away from the idea that it could have been a breeze. It wasn't shut all the way. It could have been just,
Yeah, like a dryer door.
Yeah, it's a basement, but basements have windows. Some of them have sliding doors.
I'm assuming this is from America, though. Like, how are dryers in America? Aren't they from the top?
Dryers are typically from the bottom. They open up like this.
Oh, okay.
Not from like the
All
washers open from the top, dryers open from the side, from the front.
Gotcha.
So that's what I'm
Just
saying.
to clarify for me.
yeah. So if this is America, I mean, that's how they usually are. Don't get me wrong, there are dryers that open from the top too, but
hardly anyone has dryers in England, so there's definitely American.
Everybody
If they have
America,
two dryers in a house, it's definitely American.
if you're in America, you probably have a washer and dryer. Some people do go to the laundromat though. Not knocking that. Alright, so she goes on to say, then I noticed that it feels like someone is glaring at me from our bathroom as I'm in the kitchen cooking.
Ew.
Like that's strange. Like when you can feel someone staring at you, but this felt evil. It felt like I could almost make out their outline on her side of the bed, but she wasn't even there.
On the side of the bed in the kitchen? What?
Well, from what it sounds like, that is an interesting thing. Because her bedroom apparently is outside of their bedroom. Not her bedroom, but her roommate's bedroom, I'm guessing. Unless
No, her bedroom is underneath the roommate's bedroom.
Oh, okay, so then I noticed that it feels like someone is glaring at me from her bedroom. So her roommate's
Oh no, they're in the basement, aren't they? Sorry.
Yeah.
Yep, okay.
So her roommate's bedroom, which is upstairs, so I'm guessing her roommate's bedroom comes out to the kitchen, or is at least near the kitchen enough to see
I thought it was their bedroom. My bad. Okay, carry on.
So that's interesting. So she says that, it felt evil. It felt like I could almost see the outline on her side of the bed, but she wasn't even there. Every time I use the kitchen now, I have to shut her door, or I feel it staring at me. So if you do have a moment where you feel freaked out about something that might have happened, that you feel like it really happened, like this situation, every single time you're alone in that situation, you're probably gonna feel like it's happening again. Even it's just paranoia, and you don't know what's happening, you don't know what that was, it scared you, it spooked you, it's gonna stick with you. So
it's like when you're in the shower. I don't know about you, but if I'm in the shower and I close my eyes, I'm like, someone's in here with me.
you're gonna open your eyes to that demon in the bathroom.
I know there's nobody there, but it happens to me every single time.
She went on to say, I tell no one, so she hasn't said anything to anybody. I don't blame you.
Until now.
Yeah, she told me. She told us. Yeah, I don't blame you. I mean, that's one of those things where it's kind of weird to come out to somebody saying, I think I seen a ghost in your room. You sound crazy, and it also might paranoid them. A few months later, we were talking to her ex-boyfriend, our friend. He used to live there with us, but they broke up and he moved out. And my husband says, I don't know, her room just creeps me out. It's like someone is staring at me from her bed. And I never told him about any of that. So we have to take her on her word for that because we don't know.
That's creepy.
But if that's true, like if two people are experiencing that, that's creepy. She said, I got the chills. I would too. So many things happened there. We moved out not long after. And I wonder if the people who live there now noticed anything, or if it was just attached to her, as we found out.
As we found out, it was attached to her?
So she says, or if it was just attached to her, as we found out. So that's it. I thought I read that wrong, but no, that's what she said.
Oh, okay.
Most of the activity was upstairs, and we lived downstairs. We just shared the kitchen that was upstairs. We think the lamp turning on was actually more connected to me. It was a guardian trying to communicate with me. We have a mutual friend that came in and blessed the house and confirmed a lot of things for us. So that's why I think the lamp turning on was my guardian. I've witnessed a lot of paranormal things in my life. This was just the most disturbing for me. It was the place she lived.
So that's the great thing about these stories. Like, this person, to me, sounds quite skeptical as well.
A little bit. Where it throws me off is the whole guardian thing.
Yeah. But I feel like, again, they had someone come in and they were like, oh.
Maybe they're skeptical because they did call someone in to maybe help clarify things, but you got to be more skeptical than to just believe. You know what I mean? But believe what you want. A lot of weird things happen in places.
It's strange that she said like her husband felt the same presence in that room.
That room on her bed too, yeah, like something was staring at her. That is strange.
Because I've definitely had that feeling before. Like I said, if you're in the shower and you close your eyes, like, but then like if I'm out and about, I'm like, someone's watching me.
I mean, I personally, I've been to a lot of places where I felt like I was being watched. I think it's a common thing when you're alone in a place.
Yeah, definitely.
Anywhere.
When you're alone, you never get that feeling when you're with someone.
Think about it. Think about it. Have you ever had that feeling when you were with somebody or with a group, and then it turned out to be that you know what I mean? I don't.
And
think
everyone had the same feeling of being watched at the same time. That would be weird.
That would be the perfect. That would be the perfect.
If you have, please let us know. It'd be like really interesting to hear that.
That would be the perfect experiment, though, just to get a group of people to see if they feel it. Especially if you're looking for it and you still feel it, then something really weird's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So, in conclusion, I personally think that this comes down to it. When you really boil it down, I really feel like this is probably faulty wiring with the lamp.
100%.
Just
Very
because
common.
I've had that happen before. I've been there. Feeling like someone's staring at you is that's one of the side effects of being alone and paranoid. I mean, you're alone in a house. Nobody's
Especially
there.
that room alone might have been creepy looking.
Yeah, even if somebody else is in the house, but you're in that room alone, doing your thing, and an open door to another room that's dark in there. I mean, immediately my mind would go. I would get paranoid too.
I think it's just an open door thing, isn't it? Like if you had the door closed, it'd be no problem. Like the spirit or ghost, whatever, could have stepped out into the hallway, but it's just something about the empty room and the door being open.
Yeah, I agree. So in conclusion, it doesn't. I'm not convinced, but it was definitely a spooky story.
It's very spooky.
I mean,
very interesting.
If I was in her shoes, I would have felt probably the same way in all scenarios. But being that I've been in a couple of those scenarios myself. All right, so we'll move on.
So this one is from Elizabeth. I haven't read it yet, so I'm not sure what she's gonna say. She says, other than my mother having ESP, do you know what that means?
ESP, I think it's something that like clairvoyants have. It means extrasensory perception. It's their way of being able to like read, situations, to be able to tell what happened. Something like that, yeah.
Okay. It's kind of like psychic in a way.
Yeah, it's like being a psychic, yeah.
Okay. So other than my mother having ESP, I guess the first paranormal activity of sorts that I know of when I was a junior in high school, my dad went into shock, died, and came back. I've heard about things like this before. Someone dies, they've seen something, and then they've come back to life again.
Having an experience, yeah.
Mm-hmm. He described the beautiful light and music. Oh, he almost died once more when he blew out his aorta.
So I'll cut in right there because, I've heard a lot of stories about people, dying on the, during an operation or, just dying in general and being brought back and seeing things. And I think there's a perfectly natural explanation for that.
You do?
Yeah, because from what I've read, and I'm like no doctor, no scientist, but I've read, the dopamine, the body releases a certain amount, or maybe like all of the dopamine it has in storage to help alleviate the pain of death, or to help. It's just like a natural reaction to death that we have. So people who are dying will see things, it's just your body.
Your brain saying it's okay.
Yep.
Don't freak out. Calm down.
Basically, yeah.
Like a natural drug.
Yeah, like an actual drug. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, seeing that his dad went through the shock of dying and he came back, he described beautiful light and music. That doesn't surprise me, and I can't actually chalk that up to anything supernatural or paranormal. I can't say that heaven's real because of what he's seen or the light's real. I mean, all that confirms to me, being as a skeptic and have heard stories similar. It just confirms what I've heard scientifically.
I would like to know if a metalhead died and heard good music and what that music was. Would they like go up to the light listening to Cannibal Corpse, or would it be like elevator music? You know?
They'd be like, I seen them. I seen the flames of hell.
Yeah, that's true.
And Slayer in the background, you know? Like...
Slayer, yeah. Okay, so eventually he died of lung cancer. That's super sad.
Yeah, it's terrible.
After I was married, my parents and 3 of my siblings moved into a small community. My father took over the gentleman's law practice. Do you know what that is?
A law practice is
The gentleman's law practice.
the gentleman's. I don't know what the gentleman's law practice is, but law practice is basically like lawyers, like lawyers, you know. So they took over the gentleman's. So he says, after I was married, my parents and 3 of my siblings moved to a small community. My father took over the gentleman's law practice. So I don't know what the gentleman's law practice is.
What
Maybe
does
it's
he mean
a law.
after
It
he's
could
died?
be.
Like, what does that mean? Maybe he was studying law before he passed away.
That's probably what he means. Yeah.
She means.
Or she means, yeah.
Okay. Alright. So from the time they moved in, weird things would happen. One night when we were in the bed, someone called my name and tapped me on the shoulder. She doesn't go on to say.
She's not really explaining the situations that well. Let's just say that, yeah.
Another time I was in the kitchen doing dishes. Husband and children upstairs asleep. Rest of the family, midnight mass, and heard footsteps. Thought it was the kids needing something. Went and looked. No one came down. You could put that down to like pipes.
Yeah, houses. I mean, a lot of the houses, like over here, everything's made of brick. But in America, if this is in America, which I think it is, houses are made of wood and they settle. Especially with the foundations, basements, houses settle, and they make noises. A lot of people actually claim that they hear doors shutting, footsteps, and there's a perfectly natural explanation. Houses do settle, and they do make noises. They do. So.
With the tapping on the shoulder, though, that's.
I felt tugging on my. I felt what I thought was tugging on my shirt on multiple occasions.
That's just me.
It was just you. It was my wife.
No.
No, but yeah, I've done that on multiple occasions. I won't say I felt tapping on my shoulder, but even tugging on the shirt, I've heard people say that, and my mind naturally jumps to what the hell was that? But it could, you know what I mean? I can't really explain what it was, but it could have been a number of things. Ghosts probably wouldn't be my first option. A spirit probably wouldn't be
as much as we would like it to be.
I want it to be. That would be great, but I mean, yeah, it's an idea in your mind, like what the hell was that? You get spooked from it for sure. Yeah, so that's not something I can explain. Yeah.
We took a family pic with a Polaroid, but nothing appeared on the first one. Who's using Polaroids nowadays, anyways?
Yeah, it makes me
I guess
wonder.
it's kind of retro.
It's retro. It makes me wonder,
Polaroids.
like when this took place. Maybe.
I think it's probably quite. It sounds recent. I don't know why. It just sounds recent in my head. But again, we're just reading the story.
Yeah, we don't really know, but if it is nowadays, yeah, it's pretty retro to have Polaroids.
So nothing appeared on the first one, and just a spirit shape on the second one. Again, it's a Polaroid.
We were talking about this earlier. With the
As a speck of dust could fly in front of the camera.
Anything. The exposure, the Polaroid being exposed to light. Anything, especially with the Polaroid. I mean, it's created right on spot.
Because they're not even like high definition.
Anything on the
or anything.
lens. I mean, anything. Yeah.
Okay.
They're hard to trust. You know?
Other things happened when we were not. I think she means not there.
There, yeah, she messed up. Put there.
Okay. Family members heard voices, tapping on doors at night. Chairs, papers, books, and other items moved during the night. It's very specific.
Yeah.
If they heard it move. I heard a book move. How did you know that was a book that was moving?
Yeah, good call, yeah. Unless they seen it, but no, they said heard.
Heard, yeah. Like,
that's very
I
specific.
get a chair, you can hear it.
You hear noises. You don't know what it is.
Papers, again, you hear paper, but books.
It's almost like the same thing when it comes to like seeing faces and things. Like your mind kind of attributes things. You know, like you hear a noise and you might think, "What the hell was that?" And then you might just jump to the nearest thing you thought would make that sound. You know, and really, like it could come down to, just like we said earlier, the house settling, anything like that. Someone walking in the house. You know.
It's true. If you ever move house, you always hear noises, and you'll be like, and then you're like, oh, it's just a new house.
Yeah, pretty much.
Every time. But yeah, maybe like hearing a book, they could mean like flicking through pages or something. But I don't know.
They weren't very
Seems
specific.
dubious.
Yeah, they weren't very specific about it. I mean, they were specific about certain things, but then they weren't specific about what the book was doing. Was it sliding? They weren't. Yeah, true.
My family could probably write a book for another ghost to flick through. She didn't say that. I just had a line.
Okay.
I was doing it funny. But both parents have died, and siblings have moved on. I think she means. Do not know if the home is even standing.
Well, you know, so that right there kind of gives you the idea at the end there. Don't know if the home is even standing. That this was probably a long time ago, which explains the Polaroids. In conclusion,
that's a very vague one.
It's a vague one. The story about their dad dying, that's terrible. It's sad. But you know, coming back from it, I've heard stories. You know, I've heard stories. People have seen the light. They've seen other things. They've seen people, family members, and you know that's been, you know, according to nature, according to science, that's been explained. As far as I know, I mean, it's really hard to say like, yes, that's paranormal. I can't jump to that. I mean, but it is true though. I mean, people do see things when they're dying.
Even if I was like there in those shoes, I would think the same. Like my brain is just telling me, "Don't worry, it's gonna be okay."
Yeah. It's just, you know, and you know, I'm actually kind of grateful for the idea of that. You know, dying cannot be a fun experience.
No.
You know, as for, like we were saying, the footsteps, everything, the noises, we've attributed that to...
Houses make noises.
They do, settling.
The paper, though, that's...
Yeah, that's, you know, the tapping on the shoulder feeling. I mean, it's hard to really pin that down. I mean, you can't prove that. That's something you can't prove. You can only take that for their word on it, and... we will for this.
It's just like me good.
It could be something like that, but you know, even if we take their word on it and say yes, they felt a tapping on the shoulder, we have to just take it for what it is. It's just their word. I'll believe you, but I'm not gonna. It doesn't prove that it was paranormal.
I feel like most ghost stories are no one's been touched in them, you know. But then this looks like a very active ghost. He's like flicking through the papers. He's, you know, tapping people on the shoulders.
Yeah. He's
I think as well she's trying to connect this with her deceased father.
Could be.
As well.
Could be, yeah. Yeah, because this ghost seems to be doing a lot of physical stuff. It's interesting, you know. Appreciate.
Very spooky. Yeah, I would be spooked if it was happening to me. So
I would be again. In all of these situations, I'd be spooked. I mean, it's just it's a natural response to stuff that you don't understand. But just to say that it was a ghost or it was paranormal, you know, there's perfectly natural explanations for most of that. So we have a story here now from Jeanette. She says, "When I was 11, my mom was a secret shopper. She could take us 4 kids with her when she worked most of the time. On this summer day, we were headed to the gas station. She told us all to get in the car. I told her, we are going to see a car accident today."
What?
Yeah, it's
Can you imagine if I had a kid that was 11? I'd be like, "You shut the F up. What are you talking about?
Why do you want to see a car accident so bad?"
Touch wood. Don't be saying things like that. You've been watching too much Final Destination.
She looked at me and said she hoped not. My youngest brother, who was 5, proceeded to put on his plastic racing helmet, just in case.
Aww.
It was the 90s, after all. There was a lot of traffic getting out of the gas station. A semi was waving us into the next lane because he could see it was empty. My mom proceeded, and out of nowhere, a black Monte Carlo plowed into the back of my mom's station wagon. That right there is the reason why you just don't wave people out into traffic. When someone waves me into traffic, I always say, I'm good, go. Because that situation might happen, and guess who's at fault?
You.
Mm-hmm. So don't ever go when someone waves you out. You let them know. You have the right of way, go ahead.
It's happened to me before, like, I've been behind cyclists, so, like, and I'm around a bend, they're like, go on, it's fine. I'm like, nah, I'm good, I'll wait until I can see for myself.
Yeah, it's just not safe. They have the right of way, they go. I'll go when it's clear. That's how it works. She goes on to say, there was no damage to that beast, but the Monte Carlo was destroyed. The police came. We were all sitting in a squad car. While we were waiting, I reminded my mom what I said. She was watching them arrest the other driver. Turns out that it was a fugitive they'd been looking for. It was a crazy day.
What?
That is one of those strange situations.
That's bizarre.
It doesn't. I can't really chalk it up to paranormal. I could say like, what shitty luck for that fugitive. He was probably flying through traffic, wasn't paying attention. He probably was far down the road, which when the truck driver looked in his rear view, he seen a car a ways away and was like, come on, you're good.
But he was speeding
But
so
that guy
much.
was flying
Mm-hmm.
and probably rear-ended him, came up way faster than that trucker was, which also gives way to my saying, don't pull out when people tell you to, because you don't know. You don't know. They say they know. You're just causing more issues.
And I can only hope the plastic helmet did its job.
What I can say is, good guess. Good guess on you. We can chalk it up to you being a psychic, but I would just say, anytime you get in the car to go out on the road, you could always be like, we're going to see a car accident, and there's a huge chance that you're going to go down the road and see something. You could see something. I just say good guess. It was a good guess.
11 years old though, like.
Yeah, 11-year-old. I mean, we talked about that last episode. The younger you
Just
are,
kids saying stuff. Yeah.
your imagination goes wild. So, and when it comes to car accidents on the road,
they're so common.
They're very common. You get in your car, you drive. We could get in the car tomorrow. Not that we will, because
we're not allowed to leave the house.
Can't leave the house. But we could get in the car tomorrow, leave, and I could say we're going to see a car accident. And if we see one, that doesn't really make me a psychic.
I've seen tons of car accidents.
That happens.
Honestly.
I will say though, good guess, and I'm glad everybody survived. Nobody was hurt. But I'm kind of glad that fugitive ran into you. Otherwise, that guy could be out causing more mayhem. So
that's true.
Good on you guys.
It's a good job.
Good job, truck driver. By accident, you did the right thing. You did the wrong thing, which made you do the right thing.
In this scenario.
I'm impressed. I think the truck driver is the psychic. That's just me.
Our next submission is from Simon. Simon says, read
Simon says,
don't do what Simon says, just in case. I don't know what he's about to say.
Yeah, don't do it.
Simon says, I grew up in Adelaide, South Australia, in a house that had a ghost occupying the property. So he's like adamant there's a ghost there. I was about 5 years old when I was lying on my bed watching TV. I had a weird feeling out of nowhere, pure heart racing fear. My bed, while I was on it, lifted a couple of inches off the ground and started to rock from side to side. So there's that. I can vouch for that because
I've been laying in a bed and I swear to God I felt it breathing. And it's happened a few times to me. I could never really tell myself that my bed's actually breathing. Like, it's breathing, but I would more likely push it off as like I'm imagining it. Like, I'm just feeling it. It's a mental thing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I have no proof that my bed was actually breathing, so I feel like I'd have that burden of proof to prove that my bed was alive and breathing if I said that it was actually breathing.
My bed was alive and breathing.
Yeah, my bed's alive and it breathes. I hold a burden of proof there, but if I shove it off saying, well, it felt like my bed was breathing. It wasn't, but it felt like it. Then, But his sounds a little different. bed breathing and bed lifting off the ground and rocking from side to side is quite different. So maybe an earthquake. I'll chalk it up to an earthquake.
I've told you before, I've personally felt my bed rocking before, which was weird because
Yeah,
we don't have earthquakes in England, especially where I'm from. So that's strange, but again, that wasn't even enough to make me believe, and I experienced that myself. So
It's spooky though. That's weird.
we shall see what he goes on to say. So he says, I screamed as loud as I could, and as soon as my parents came and opened my door, the bed dropped back on the ground. How convenient.
Nobody witnessed it. Just me.
But then you don't know, you know? Could have, it could just be.
I claim sleep paralysis on this one, but
You
go
do?
ahead. Yeah.
Okay. I told my parents about what had happened, and they laughed like I was telling a joke. After that night, every morning at 1 a.m., I would be woken up and would not feel comfortable sleeping in my room. That's also a common occurrence, like waking up at the same time every night.
Yeah, it's your sleep. It's the cycle. You know, your schedule. When do you fall asleep? This person probably fell asleep at the same time every day.
The 5-year-old.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Your parents put you to bed. I mean,
yeah.
you know, same time, and you know, to be honest with you, they usually put you to bed 7, 8 o'clock when you're that age. You count, the average human gets 6 to 7 hours, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3-ish.
Mm-hmm.
2 to 3. So your body will wake you up, and especially if you've been waking up at that time, and it just becomes a natural cycle. Yeah.
Doors would slam shut without the assistance of wind.
How do you know that?
Again, I've experienced that and still couldn't put it down to a haunting.
The door slammed shut on me just the other day. This door never
Ghost.
never does that. But guess what? I realized that window was open. No gust of wind passed by me. But
the pressure.
I guarantee Andy out there probably went to the bathroom, shut the door, and that pressure caused this door to slam shut.
This door slams shut a lot.
Especially with that window open, it's just a passing of air. You know, like
I've experienced that door shutting
a
by
passing
itself.
of wind.
So no, that's probably just you.
Probably.
Okay, so the lounge room blind would fling open at 6 a.m. every morning. How would he know that if he's a 5-year-old?
It's really hard. I mean, as intriguing as it is, and as much as I want to believe him, I said it in the last episode. I'd have a hard time trusting a 16-year-old with these kind of issues. When we're, it's not like I wouldn't believe what they were saying, like they were experiencing this and that, but I wouldn't trust them when they say it was definitely a ghost. I would need to investigate it, especially when it's a 5-year-old. Like when you talk about younger people having active imaginations, and then when you talk about 5-year-olds, now that imagination it's way beyond that of a teenager, so it's tough, but again, it's one of those stories that we have to just take it for his word. I'm not convinced, but let's continue.
Well, he goes on to say, I grew up and told my mum about my situation many years later. And apparently there was an older man that lived in the house before us that was murdered in the very room I grew up in. Bum, bum, bum.
That does give a little bit of credit. How true is it? I don't know. If it is true that a man was murdered in there, it gives credit to some of the story. There's people that die places all the time, and doors are gonna shut. You know what I mean? Just because somebody died, like this place, the old woman didn't die in the place, right?
No, but her husband died.
Yeah. Okay. So, it'd be like that door slamming shut, me being like, it was her husband, when I know that window was open. I'm old enough to be like.
I also feel like ghosts have bad things to do.
Yeah, than to just mess with a 5-year-old kid.
Especially if they didn't know them.
They're definitely not getting into heaven.
Yeah, that's.
But good story though.
Mhm.
Shit, make for a good scary movie.
Mhm.
A haunted 5-year-old. We've all seen that movie.
There's hundreds of them.
Mm-hmm. So we'll go ahead and move on. We have a submission from Mike. This is it's a decently long one. I lived in an old wooden house set up on stones, at the end of a dirt road, far down a one-lane road that had been paved for only 1 year. Along with the paved road, piped-in water had only arrived the year before as well. Very old. That just, in my mind, states how old this land is, at the time. The property was purchased by a family that had previously built on a Shawnee burial ground and had their children murdered for it. So, what I'm seeing is that the family prior to him buying this place, so that family that originally built on it, built their house on a burial ground, which is just, in my opinion, sets up for a very messed up story.
But
this is like
it was probably
Hollywood
cheap
style.
land.
Cheap, because it didn't belong to them. It belonged to the Shawnee. So had their children murdered for it. So I'm assuming that the land belonged to the natives, and the government sold the land to the family, and the natives' reaction was basically warfare.
So they killed the kids?
Killed the kids. Easiest targets.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's messed up.
Super messed up.
That is a build-up for probably the most haunted story that we've read so far. So anyway, he goes on to say, the curse they inherited seemed to follow them from place to place till the last one born there finally passed away.
The curse?
No, so basically saying that they carried a curse from it that they had inherited from building the land there.
The person reading this, Mike?
No, the family that purchased the property.
Oh, sorry, okay.
So they inherited a curse from building on the burial ground.
How does Mike know this? I'm
That's
sure he gets into it. I'm sorry.
That's a good question. We'll keep reading. It's probably in here. So he did say that it seemed to follow them from place to place till the last one who was born there finally passed away. So the last child finally passed away, leaving the curse on the home he built, 40 miles from the burial ground. So apparently they
got up and left.
Scrapped the original place after their children got murdered. Built the place 40 miles away, but the curse followed them, and it was there until the last born child passed away.
Okay.
And that place was built 40 miles away from the burial ground. That's crazy. Before moving back in 1977, I was warned that the house was haunted, in quotes. Over nearly 2 years there, I had many paranormal experiences, but a few stand out above the others. One day, after getting an overtime paycheck, I decided to do some shopping. Maybe for some new clothes. Being isolated, doesn't that sound familiar?
Oh.
Shopping for clothes, you don't do that in isolation.
No.
Being isolated.
I think he means the area he was living in was isolated.
Yeah. No, that's what he meant. Being isolated, I knew the house could be a target for thieves, and I'd already lost a few belongings I left outside. So I closed and locked all the windows and bolted all doors, exiting through the only door I had a key to. The 75-yard walk to my pickup truck was pleasant in the cool afternoon breeze as I started my truck. I realized my back pocket was flat. A 75-yard walk to his truck.
His back pocket was flat? So it was like bulky before he left?
Yeah, well, men carry wallets in the back pocket. And trust me, when the wallet's in there, you don't really know it's in there, but when it's not in there, you know it's not in there. You get very paranoid.
Okay.
He said, I'd forgot my wallet. I turned off the engine and quickly tried to... Called it! I was right. He goes on to say, I turned off the engine and quickly trotted back to the house. He trotted. Reaching in my pocket for my keys, I looked up to see the double locked door, standing wide open. That's interesting. See, this is, these kind of stories really are intriguing. These are the ones that you can't prove that it's true, but if this is true, and he had locked that door, unless he had a faulty lock, which this guy seems like he's he's a man. Like, he definitely knows if a faulty lock, you know.
Oh, so a woman doesn't know if it's a faulty lock.
Not what I was saying. Not what I was saying. He just seems like like a handyman kind of guy. He lives in a old house off the dirt road. He's got a truck. This dude, you know, I know the type. I know the type. Not sexist. Could be a handy woman.
I feel like, for me, reading that, I feel like he just forgot to lock the door.
He could have. It's definitely a possibility.
Again, not being there, this is only what we can take from it, but me personally, that's what I take from that. But like you said, it feels like he would lock it and shut it.
If he forgot his wallet, he definitely could have forgot to lock the door. Just saying.
Well...
So let's go on, let's see what he had to say. I'd been told that I had the only key, but someone had opened that door. As I stepped inside, I reached for the shotgun I kept right next to the door.
So who lives in the house with him at the minute? He doesn't say, does he?
It sounds like he lives alone.
I'd been told. He's renting it.
I've been told probably from the previous owner, from stories from the neighbors.
Do you think he's renting?
No, it sounds like he owns it.
Okay.
You don't, I mean, he could be renting it, but it sounds like he's
the fact he says I'm the only one with the key, if you don't own the house, then...
Well, he might have, he might have been, like, referring to, like, the previous owners gave me the only key to the place, or...
I thought it was, like, a legal requirement, no?
Yeah, but who knows? He might have been throwing that in for a little pizzazz.
Okay.
So he goes on to say, as I looked around, I saw the one window raised up about 6 inches. As I went to the next room, I saw the outside door there also wide open and a window raised up about 6 inches. So it sounds like someone opened the window, reached in and unlocked the door. So he messed up by not locking the windows as well as the doors. That's probably a very important step when you're trying to secure your house. Lock the window, lock the door. Although the house, every window not nailed down, was open 6 inches and every door outside was standing wide open, I had only been gone 10 minutes.
If someone was robbing them, they wouldn't open every single door and window.
They wouldn't. That's true. But they also wouldn't hesitate. They see you're leaving. They're like, we only got a limited amount of time. We got to get this shit done. Mm-hmm. So if they were gonna rob him, it's while he's getting in his truck and about to pull out. They were in his house.
They're in there right now. If that's the case, yeah.
They were upstairs going through the jewelry cabinet or something.
And then I came in and heard noise upstairs.
Yeah. So he goes on to say, now I knew why most of the doors were nailed closed and all the windows also nailed closed. After closing and locking everything again, I stood at one keyed door and spoke loudly. Oh. And in quotes. If someone gets in here and steals all my stuff, I'll have to leave because they'd just do it again. After I replaced it all. Then you would be alone again like you were before I got here. So please do not do that again. After that one event, nothing like it ever happened again. But plenty of other paranormal mischief did.
Oh, tell us more.
Yeah, please. Send us the rest. That was a good story.
I love how like the butcher, they have enough and they're like, you don't do this to me again.
So I quote, I said, yeah, no, it's funny how, he has a shotgun, but he grew balls as he was walking back out the door.
Yeah, with the shotgun.
I would have been in that house, going upstairs, making sure my shit was okay. I had a shotgun. I mean, don't get me wrong. If someone's breaking in your house, they probably have a weapon too. So be careful.
True, especially in America.
But yeah, in America, land of the free. To get shot if you walk in my house. No, that's an interesting story, and to start off with he came out swinging with the Shawnee burial ground. I mean,
yeah.
That let me just say, you start off a story with that, it's immediately spooky. It's immediately like that's some horror movie shit, like. But then to follow up with, this house was built 40 miles from the burial ground. I mean, I guess,
40 miles is a long way.
That's a long way. That's like from where we're sitting to London, further.
Yeah.
Further than that. That's a long way. I guess if curses were real, they don't typically stay behind if you're cursed. It follows you. It's like you're the host of the curse. Like it's part of you. So
it's probably a different ghost entirely. If anything.
Yeah. I mean, if 40 miles that way was a Shawnee burial ground, what burial ground are you building on now? Yeah, interesting story though. You know, and I'd be intrigued to hear about the rest. I really would. Yeah, that was a good one.
It's interesting.
Yeah, thank you again, Mike.
Thank you, Mike. So now we have a submission from Jody. And Jody says, both my grandparents died 6 months apart. Aw, that's sad, but also kind of cute.
I've heard of
Is
that.
that weird?
Yeah, I've heard of that. Like,
from literally dying of a broken heart.
that's what they say. You know, your other half passes away, and you're kind of up there in your age. You were holding on for something, and now it's shitty to say, but like almost like you don't have anything to live for anymore.
Aww.
Yeah, that's sad.
It's cute though, in
It's
a sad way.
It's cute in like a romantic way.
And I was extremely close to them both. We had cleared out their house, and I was sat in their empty bedroom. Aww. There was a pile of boxes on the landing, and I pointed to a specific box and told them to knock it over. I waited for 30 minutes and nothing. Surprise, surprise. Just as I was about to stand up, a box I pointed at fell over. 30 minutes. I feel like it could have been balancing.
This doesn't. It reminds me of a thing that happened to me. I mean, I didn't specifically point at anything and say push that over. But there was a time I was watching a show, one of the Ghost Adventures. It was either that or like Ghost Hunters. It was one of those TV shows that suck. But anyway,
they're not. I want to believe you.
They're not us. But and they said they were doing an EVP recording, and they did say, they were like, if you're here with us, say something or touch something, one of us, or knock something over. And then they said, pull a book off the shelf. And that was one of the things they used as an example. And it didn't happen immediately, but it was probably about 5 minutes, if not less. A book on the shelf came falling off, and it freaked me out. I mean, I didn't know how to explain that. I didn't chalk it up to anything paranormal or nothing, but I was just like, that fucking just happened, and it spooked me.
Well, that happened.
So I could see a situation like that happening. I mean, it could have been anything. The book could have been ready to fall off the shelf already, as it was. I got up to go to the bathroom and came back, and just me walking at that moment, it could have been,
just a coincidence.
Just a massive coincidence. So
still
again, spooky though.
Could be the same with the boxes.
Especially when, for her example, she said she pointed at a specific box and that one fell over. For my example, the TV, which was a Ghost Hunter show, which already had me worked up because it was a Ghost Hunter show, so I was already spooked a little bit. And then to have a book fall off the shelf when they literally used the book as an example, speaking to the spirits of wherever they were at. That spooked me, but it's still not quite enough. I mean, it's pretty compelling though. It's pretty damn compelling, so I give her kudos on that, because that's pretty spooky stuff.
It's like you say, it could have been just balancing at that time, and then all of a sudden
it was a stack of, the boxes were stacked up.
She got up, could have created some
shut
wind
a door, window was open. Yep.
She did say, didn't she? Just as I was about to stand. Oh, as I was about to stand up. So maybe she didn't actually stand up.
Well, about to stand up, she could have leaned forward. Anything, the movement. It
could have created something.
Yep.
It was amazing to know they were watching over me. I also went to their grave a few days ago, and that night I got into bed after shutting my bedroom door. About 10 minutes later, I heard the door handle and the door opened. Nobody was there. That was creepy.
Earlier today, I was in the bathroom, and I was brushing my teeth, but I heard the door. It sounded like someone was knocking on the door. The window was open though, and I'd never heard this before in the bathroom. It didn't spook me, but I kind of was like, I better like say something or open the door myself so nobody just walks in on me. Even though I was brushing my teeth, closed bathroom door, you kind of feel like your privacy was violated if someone just walks in. Not you, of course. But So I immediately opened the door. I was brushing my teeth, and so nobody was there. My immediate reaction was, keep brushing your teeth. Nobody's going to think anything of it.
And all of a sudden, the toothbrush is moving by itself.
No, but I knew immediately because this window was open, the bathroom window was open. It was just the cross breeze.
Yeah. Sometimes Norman as well, he goes around.
If the door is somewhat latched shut, if a breeze coming through does open it, it's gonna wiggle the handle a little bit because the locking mechanism, is attached to the handle, so it's gonna make the handle move.
Yeah, but the handle actually moving and opening.
If the handle twisted all the way and the door came open and then the handle flew back up, that's totally different than the handle. I would shit my pants. But
at least we'd be in the bathroom.
I wouldn't be a skeptic anymore.
I think I still would be.
No, I would be. I would be.
It's gonna take I'm gonna have to actually see a ghost myself.
Yeah, I know. The ghost will have to come sit on my lap and be like, so anyway, let me tell you why you should believe.
What? They're gonna ask you what they want for Christmas?
It ain't that great yet, Jesus.
Yeah, but...
I mean, good story. I feel like a lot of people can relate to these stories that we said today.
The door opening, I couldn't explain that.
There's a lot to do with these stories. I mean, that, throughout a lifetime, you will experience shit like that. I mean, it's very easy to push it off as paranormal. It's very easy to say it was a ghost. What's not easy is to critically think about it. You gotta... just to do yourself a favor. I mean, even if you want to believe, if you really want to believe, you need to be critical about it, so it's, they're very good stories though. There's some compelling things in there. It's, again, stories are hard to break down as, the truth. It's just how it is. Because
any of us could sit here and be like,
if I read this story and then there was a video behind it to help, support as evidence, I'd be more compelled to believe that, wow, she wasn't kidding. This really happened. The box being knocked over, I don't need a video of that. Like I said, I've had experiences in my own life of that, and I know how to, you can say it's a ghost, or you can just admit to yourself that it could be this, it could be that.
Again, it depends on the boxes were stacked and what was in them. Yep. I don't know.
Depends if a window was open. Depends if you getting up might have.
Because if it's like two big boxes stacked on top of each other with a lot of weight in it, that'd be weird as fuck. But if it was just two empty boxes or something light, like
I'm guessing they weren't empty, but yeah, you're right. If it didn't have a lot of weight in it, if it was a box full of sheets, or if it was
But then if it was heavy, it could be heavy on one side.
And if if one of the box beneath it, that one was heavy, and the one on the bottom wasn't barely full at all, it could have crushed that box and fell over. Who knows?
Like we say, it's hard to decipher without actual video evidence, but we do really enjoy the stories.
Yeah, no, the stories are amazing.
We obviously assume they're all completely genuine. We wouldn't read the ones that we don't think are genuine.
Yeah, the one, we try to take in consideration all the stories sent to us, and we use everyone that. And when we skim through these things, all we do is try to make sure that they're actual stories. We're not reading them word for word. We're just looking at the beginning, the end, maybe a little of the middle to make sure it's a real story. And when we do these, we're always compelled by a lot of them. You can't prove stories wrong. You can't. You can brush them off as whatever you want. That's you can explain them in a certain way, in a certain light, to show your opinion on it. And again, it's a story, so you also can't just pinpoint it, and you can't just say that's paranormal. Like, it's just not. You're not being honest with yourself. And if you really want to find the truth, you gotta be critical. And on that note, if you have any experiences that you'd like to submit, along with any photo or video evidence, please feel free to submit by email at want2believeyou@gmail.com. or on Facebook through Messenger. Submit any stories you'd like. We would love to read them.
Even just in the comments below, if you do just have a story and not photos or videos, then just pop it in the comments in this video here, and we read it out next episode. We have decided now, obviously this is just our second video, we are going to do a video twice a week on Wednesdays and Sundays. when we can leave the house again and we have the proper equipment, we are going to start doing the ghost hunts and just things like we think it'd be quite interesting for a couple of skeptics to go out and try and find ghosts in a haunted area.
I feel like if anything will be convincing, it's personal experience.
And if we see anything, you can, believe it's the real deal.
If these videos do come out and I end up being convinced, any of these moments of criticism on these, feel free to hit us back up and shoving it down our throat, because I will definitely be accepting of it. Again, I'm a skeptic, but that does not mean I don't want to believe it's real. I want to believe it's real because it's interesting stuff, and I want to believe you. Mm-hmm. Do you?
I do. Do you?
Thanks, guys.
See you Wednesday.